Okay, hello. How's everybody doing? Good evening. This is going to be the VRML Pioneer Cup, the first of many tournaments hosted by VRML. Today we're going to have an amazing set of games over the course of potentially the next, Bob, was it 4 or 5 hours or something like that? But anyways, my name is Martini, and of course I have Gibbler Bob in the casting booth with me. How are you doing today, Bob?
Easy, Martini, especially coming off of what was a phenomenal EU tournament today. We had 5 amazing rounds of Orion Drift action. And honestly, I mean, we've got like twice as many teams. Martini, we're going to have like 70 games going at once today. Unfortunately, even with 4 streams, probably not going to be enough to get everybody. But still, we will do our best to get as many exciting games as possible. I think we're going to see a lot of great action here. Not to mention, we've got 8 planned rounds, so there's a lot in store for this one. Seven rounds.
Yeah, definitely a lot of things going on today, and I'm excited to see it. And you're right, we have probably one of the most amount of multi-streams we've had in a hot minute, I think, for VRML. And you're right, we can't cover all the action, unfortunately, and thankfully there's so much action to cover. For quick reminders, this is going to, again, be the 4v4 format. A lot of this is in testing. Another Axiom is talking about how this is their competitive direction going forward, so this is going to be a big test, I think. Obviously at a huge scale, right? We're talking hundreds of teams at this point across all regions. It's gonna be best of 5 for all these matchups and a Swiss style bracket. So let me know in the chat if you don't know what that means. We can talk about it later on. But before we unfortunately go to some more intermission, I'm sorry, y'all. There's just so much going on here behind the scenes. But shout out to Another Axiom, one of my personal favorite sponsors, for providing us with the game that we love. And of course, for supporting these upcoming tournaments for VRML. And of course, if you have not been paying attention, VRML Con 2025 has been confirmed for Phoenix, Arizona. So if you'd like to meet all of us in person or join any of the tournaments, head online to the VRML Con website and make sure to grab your tickets. But unfortunately, we'll have to be heading out and go to intermission for a quick moment. We'll be back pretty soon as these teams are getting set up here. So hopefully it shouldn't be too much longer of a wait, but we'll see y'all just in a couple of minutes. All right, y'all. Looks like we're gonna be starting right into the action. Round one already coming out here for Breakfast and Westside Warriors. My overlay is not showing.
Well, in any case, Breakfast you're going to see is in the pink, and Westside Warriors are in currently right now over on the Westside Warriors side of the arena. And the ball in control by Deadline. Retrofix looks to nab possession of that, take it back down to the other side of the arena, apply a little pressure to the Breakfast goal, but there's Milk Tab with the interception, bringing it right back down the end and going for the shot on goal.
Yeah, looks like Deadline having the ball in hand. Never mind, they get tackled right in the end there, and that is going to be unfortunate for them as they're going to be moving forward to get that ball up. But Chet able to be on the back end to receive it, sends the pass across, able to get into Milk Tab's hand, and it does almost connect, but Retrofix does get that deep clear, and there might be a long shot, never mind, does bounce right off Nest there as Punches able to get the ball in hand and start moving up the arena slowly here.
Punches down in bunker, looking to get the ball away from BES, but it's up in the sky once more. In possession of Breakfast, and they go for the shot. There it is, Milk Tab with the opening score of this series. Nice way for Breakfast to start, and could be a potential momentum gainer for them.
Yeah, great start for them. Looks like the ball might have been stuck there, so this is gonna be a little unfortunate for them as they need to figure out what is going on here. I will bring us back. I think these teams are going to play that one out. This might be able. They might need to just deal with the mods in a second here. I'm almost inclined, Bob, to take an intermission break. Looks like these teams are taking a second. Also, my game overlay is not showcasing for some reason here. And it was just working earlier. Are they playing this one out?
That's an interesting question. I think the game has ended for some mysterious reason. So we may cut to just a small intermission, see what exactly is going on, whether or not the game is properly working or not. But we do see a little scuffle. We'll see if one of these teams, if they score, it'll show us that the game is still active. But they are playing still. So I think they're playing this one out. And there's the shot on goal, and it's another score for Breakfast.
That's going to be a good shot there, and it looks like this might be rough for them right now. As I'm not quite sure what's going on with this game, but again, remember, this is the test tournament. A lot of things would be in flight right now as we are trying a lot of different things out. One of those things being my own personal assets, but hey, let's move forward here as it looks like we're going to be having Westside Warriors moving down here. Retrofix having a ball in hand, trying to dodge around, pass it over potentially to one of their teammates. No, they decided to go off a Halo, playing it off, getting some speed moving here as they move forward, going in for the pass option, and they do get tackled there in the end by Breakfast.
Half court right now, Deadline heading over to the left side. Retrofix sends the ball back down to center court where it's intercepted by Chet, and Breakfast are moving it ever closer to the goal of Westside Warriors. Back across, though, and it almost goes into the breakfast goal, but it's denied by punches. And moving back down the other half of the field.
Yeah, they get that little shotgun going forward. Milk Tab will get the shot in there. That's a beautiful point on the board again for breakfast. Again, I will have to acknowledge the other team. Unless they got another one in. This is going to be a 4v3 setup right now between these two teams, right, Bob?
Yeah, fortunate, but Westside Warriors are running one player down. However, breakfast are still doing a good job of demonstrating, that they have the ability to win. 3 or 4 players on the other team punches, bringing it over to the Westside Warriors goal, but they have deflected it back to center court, and it's just a bit of a scuffle between breakfast and Westside, but it's back over to the Westside goal and tapped in by breakfast. We could be close to seeing a mercy game here.
Yeah, it's looking really good right now for breakfast as they have been doing a good job against the 3 players, unfortunately. As we talked about, this is one of the hardest things about tournaments, right? It's getting the players in, making sure your teams are together, and having things work out there. But it looks like that will be the first round going to the way of breakfast. And we'll be taking a quick intermission here as we wait for the upcoming round. Are these teams going to be going forward? I think there were some problems. Are they playing this one out? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so it'll reset in just a few seconds, and then we'll get started with the next round in the series. Remember, this is a best of 5. So for breakfast to win the series, they need to win 2 more games against Westside Warriors. They've already got 1 under their belt. But the question is, can they get 2 more?
Yeah, I mean, it was a rough game, right, for Westside Warriors. Playing a player down is not really much you can do there, but kind of just manage and hopefully really minimize the amount of scores going your way. Unfortunately for that, breakfast was getting a good amount of goals in on them. And it does look funny because my name is also in the team. I am also in this team, so I'm a little biased here. I will have to acknowledge that. But yeah, it's going to be a little tough for them there. And someone did have a question in the chat. Will there be stream delay? No, we do have no stream delay. Obviously, it's kind of hard to stream snipe a game like this, so stream delay is not as important, I would definitely say, for competitive play. But it looks like we are going to be starting off round 2 pretty soon here. Already a hand from breakfast, but they do get intercepted there by Retrofix as they're moving in the ball here. Getting the 1v1 now, trying to get the 1v3. Just kidding, it does not work out, but they go in for another shot. Does make it all the way in there. And talk about a shot there by Westside Warriors.
That they don't have 4 players on their team because they already inserted a goal right into the breakfast. Excuse me. They already inserted a ball right into the breakfast goal. Deadline, however, with a response. And it equalizes the scores here in round number 2. 1-1 between breakfast and Westside Warriors. Oh my goodness, it's going right in again!
Oh, that is unfortunate. Talk about, midfield, a QB gone wrong there. And that's one of those things you always got to be watching, looking out for the other team. Because remember, again, this team is up a whole player. They can cover every single position and have a goalie in the goal, right? So that's a little tough for them in terms of having to fight against that defense.
There's the ball being tossed back down towards the Westside Warriors goal. Best trying to move it away to breakfast. Maybe get another score for Westside Warriors, but it is going to be difficult because, again, breakfast is playing a really good defense here. They're putting 2, sometimes 3 people on the goal, and it's not giving Westside Warriors the opportunity to even get close to the goal, to even have a shot that might make it in.
Yeah, it's been a little challenging for them. They got the 1 goal at the beginning, so it is very much possible and in the cards here. But as you're talking about here, the hardest thing is going to be possession, I believe. The amount of players on the other side is going to be very tough. And Deadline able to get that shot in. Another one on the board here for breakfast. It's going to be a little challenging again for the Westside Warriors. But as we talked about, it's one of those things, right, when you can't field everybody in your team. Unfortunately, it's going to be a disadvantage you'll be facing all game.
Certainly, I mean, they've gotten a goal already, so I believe that Westside Warriors do have the ability to get control of this game. It's going to be a little bit more difficult, but everybody has the potential to win here. Retrofix in the midst of 4 very hungry breakfast players. Gets possession of the ball, but there's just so many people from breakfast on them, and they're getting double teamed in the tackle there. Really prevents, I mean, if you're Westside Warriors, you have to pass the ball as much as you can, because these tackles from breakfast are going to be the end of it.
We can try and help, but we can't do
definitely challenging for them. They got to get around these players as much as possible. Deadline trying to go in for the shot there, does miss it. Well, unfortunately, I think a little too much flare off of that shot, as it does go a little wide there. But still very much on the Westside Warriors side right now as they try to keep possession. Potentially going for a clear here, but they are definitely making it challenging right now coming out here from the breakfast player. Milktab going for the pass there. Doesn't quite connect, unfortunately, but they are looking for other passing options. Deadline trying to get their hand on it, but it doesn't matter as Nolan there for the follow-up. And, you know, this is something we're talking about, right? So many players can be challenging for their own defense. It can be overwhelming at times, right?
Indeed, indeed, and it's a threat that Westside Warriors have been facing this entire game. We are still on the second of 5 rounds. Well, it's a best of 5. So if Breakfast can win this one, they'll only need one more round under their belts before they pull out the series win against Westside Warriors. Up in the sky is Retro Fix, taking the ball way across the court once more. And they may have a shot on goal here. No, I think Milktab just owned goal.
That is unfortunate. Those tackles are so useful, right, in a lot of defensive situations. However, it doesn't always work out for them, as it didn't pan out well for them at all there. But looks like they're going for another shotgun play here with 2 players going in deep, passing it over.
If you need to make a ticket about your match,
almost
you can head
connect,
to the league rules in the Orion Drift VRML server. There's a support
shooting
server.
options there. They just miss it. Go a little too short of the goal there. And, you know, definitely one of the cool showcases, I think, of the 4v4 arena here, where that goal is smaller than the 3v3. So it's going to require more precise aiming and accuracy.
Not me.
Corner we go. Milktab sending it back down to center court. Actually, nobody was there, so it's a free-for-all to see who will reach the ball first. And it's Westside Warriors, BES, getting possession. Sending it back up through center court. Pink was not there in time, and Nolan FK with the score. And that is a mercy game for Breakfast. They just need one more, and they will claim the win against Westside Warriors.
Yeah, definitely going to be rough right now for the Westside Warriors. Remember, this is a best of 5. Sorry, y'all. I know the overlay looks a little rough. I'll try to set it up for the upcoming game. I'm not sure what happened. I definitely ran through everything. So, unfortunately, the teams are not going to be showcasing there. But we'll try to get it set up for the upcoming game, guys. You know, at this point, we are going to be running through it. A lot of technical things going on right here in the background. So, unfortunately, I wish we could provide a better, you know, a perfect show. But it doesn't always quite happen. Especially with these newer setups here. But I mean, what have we seen that last game there? Well, Westside Warriors, they finally did get a goal on board, maybe even 2, I think, right? One of those was an own goal there. What did we see, you think, in that previous game?
No. Milktab owned gold for Breakfast.
Ooh.
But, yeah, no, I mean, Westside Warriors did do a good job of getting the ball and moving it across the field, but again, I mean, Breakfast, they've got the numbers advantage, so they can tackle. If they can separate the Westside Warriors players and, you know, into a 1v2, they can just double team people and then, you know, be able to deny Westside Warriors the ability to move the ball really the way they wanted to. Deadline with a pass to Milktab, and it almost goes in. Denied, however, from a triple stack of players on the Westside Warriors goal.
Yeah, almost worked out perfectly. Talk about solid passing options, but not able to finish it there. Deadline getting a beautiful carve, and talk about shooting there, and a beautiful, beautiful shot there in the end. And it looks like we're going to be seeing Westside Warriors resetting from that one pretty soon here as Pink able to get the ball in hand here, trying to move it pretty soon here. And it looks like they're looking for passing options. Both teammates kind of spread out there. Does get intercepted by Deadline. Talk about an interception there. Almost a long shot. And again, you know, as I talked about, never mind. They finished that one up there. And that is going to be another point on the board for Breakfast here. And it'll be, you know, just a tough thing for right now for the Westside Warriors. I think at this point, it's really about the mental game. Can they just keep playing well and get as far as they possibly can here, right?
I've certainly... Oh, Deadline tackled by Retrofix, but it was it was a really great setup from Breakfast. But there's Retrofix. Look at that. Westside Warriors scoring a goal on their opponents, and they're here to tell us they're not out of it yet. They have the potential to come back stronger than ever against Breakfast. Retrofix bumps the ball. Deadline gonna get possession. Shot on goal, but it's denied by Pink and sent back over. Intercepted by Chet for Breakfast. Air ball over to Deadline, and it's intercepted again by Pink, sending it back. Intercepted by Milk Tab, and Milk Tab will ultimately get the goal.
Yeah, I mean, talk about beautiful interception. I think it was 2 interceptions in a row there. That worked out so well for the Breakfast team here. But again, we saw that earlier goal come in there from the Westside Warriors. Did work out for them. Unfortunately, they can't, you know, they've been trying their best to really get those goals in here, but not impossible as they get another one in on the board there. And, you know, we talked so much about this 3v4 thing and how it's challenging, but hey, they are getting goals. It's showcasing it's not impossible here. But we got to, you know, look back at the Breakfast defense. How can they fix this and prevent those from happening here, right? But looks like Deadline trying to go in for a potential shooting option there. Does get intercepted by the other team. And Westside Warriors is trying their best to move it down here. But Milktap going in for the interception. Passes it over to Deadline as it looks like we're getting another tackle here. And it's going to be all out mayhem in the middle there as everyone's fighting for that possession.
And back over to Milk Tab once more for Breakfast, who's passing it right back to their teammate Deadline. Beautiful shot on the goal. Deadline with the score. Breakfast move further and further in the lead against Westside Warriors. Remember that if Breakfast wins this round, they're going to win the entire series against Westside Warriors and move forward. Well, I guess everybody moves forward. It is a Swiss-style tournament. You get the idea. Taking a loss in this tournament is going to be pretty hard to come back from because the margin of error is so thin. So you definitely don't want to start off with a loss. That'd be pretty demoralizing. But so far, Westside Warriors not letting Breakfast take this one easily.
Yeah, looks like Westside Warrior doing their best to clear that out there. Does get intercepted by Deadline. Passed over to a potential passing option there. Milk Tab being a beautiful receiver there, able to get the pass, but does get tackled there as the ball is going to be free there. And so many tackles coming out here from Westside Warriors as they prevent the ball from moving down the arena, trying to keep it on the Breakfast side for this point going forward. But again, they do have those players following up here, trying to get some passing options. Does get moved forward there, but no one there. Does miss the ball, but Deadline able to follow that one up and look for possible passing options here as they look around, able to dodge some of these players. The dribble isn't quite effective as it does get picked up by the Westside Warriors. The long shot there, but just a little bit off the goal there as Chet does go in for the clear.
I got a question.
It's unfortunately deflected right back to Retrofix, who could get a goal here. No, denied. Oh, beautiful block from Milk Tab right back to BES. The ball heading now to center court. Retrofix with possession. Has to carry it back over to the Breakfast side. They lose control, but Pink is there. Tackled, however, by Breakfast. And the ball goes into the corner. It's a battle between Milk Tab and Retrofix. Good tackle from Westside Warriors. But right now, Deadline sending it over to the goal, and it doesn't matter because time has expired. And your winner for this first series in round 1 of the Swiss-style tournament for Orion Drift is Breakfast.
Yeah, I mean, talk about good gameplay coming out from both teams here, right? Westside Warriors doing their best to really fight against having only 3 players on the field. But hey, they got several goals in several times throughout the matchup. And I got to say, credit out to the Westside Warriors because that, again, is a big disadvantage having a whole player down. But still able to make a scoring opportunity here. But Breakfast, unfortunately for them, were able to still score out and make it work out for them in the end here. But that will be it for now. Looks like we'll be going to a quick intermission as we wait for the upcoming games here, right, Bob? Or
we're just going to cut out quickly and we'll be back either with a game that's currently going on or round 2 of this Swiss style tournament. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Good evening, y'all. Sorry for the long wait. I know someone said this is a sit and wait simulator. This is tournament days. I'm so sorry. You know, it's so dependent on what's going on in the arena and who's got things set up. So there's so many different things going on, and there's so much organization behind the scenes. You know, we have a whole war room, right? I'm dealing with a lot of these issues. So I really do understand. It does suck waiting, but hey, we're trying our best to really set this up and make sure it's a good show. And I did see someone put $2 in the chat. We do have the scoreboard finally come back up, so thank you for the $2. That is the only reason. Wink, wink. Not really. We actually, corrected it behind the scenes, but we'll be getting started pretty soon here. Looks like all 8 players are in the arena, so we'll be getting pretty, moving on here pretty soon here. But look at these teams, Bob. We were talking about who on these teams we know, what names we've seen before, and I was talking about the vicious side of it, right? I've seen Condog, I've seen Matthew, I've seen I think Syrup. Has a lot of streams out there. So I'm a little scared, I think, for Repel. I'm not sure about the skill level on the Repel side, but Vicious, I've seen them play this game time and time again here.
Count Repel out, right? Because both of these teams have actually moved through undefeated. They survived the first round,
okay,
which is more you can say for it's
half
funny
the teams.
Because you look at the standings, and then like half of them are 1-0, and then this just vast majority at the bottom are all 0-1.
Right.
But as we progress, I mean, there's 7 rounds here in this tournament. So as we move through, we'll start to really see who is the dominant teams. But right now, both of them, in terms of statistics, look like they have what it takes to win this battle. So I know Vicious, I know Condog on Vicious, and they are a very, very solid player every time I've seen them. So we should be getting ready for this game pretty soon, and we'll see if Repel have what it takes to take on Vicious and win.
Yeah, we're going to have Vicious here on the blue and Repel on the red. And it's going to be a great start, to this game. As again, both these teams have already started out with a win in the pocket here off of round 1. But we're going right off the top here as Condog with a beautiful regrab coming in here. And they're already going in for a shot pretty soon there. Wow. They already got a shot on the board from Vicious. And talk about a vicious start.
Vicious opening, if you will. Condog with, just insane start. Taking the ball right through and delivering it. And there's a shot. Look at the long shot there. Already Vicious 2-0. We could be in for a fast game if Repel cannot get some goals here fairly soon. They're bringing it back over to the other side. Megatron takes the pass over to Galaxy Meta, who goes for the shot on goal, but it bounces. And unfortunately for Repel, they are not able to get that goal.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really rough for the Repel players, but not impossible. They do try to keep the ball on the other side, but it doesn't matter. Vicious having the ball in hand. Sweet Tooth moving it down the arena here very, very fast already. Just loses a hand on the ball, though, as the Repel defenders are now coming in here to defend him. Condog here for the follow-up, going in for the 1v2 situation. Are they going in for the shot? No, they aren't. They're going in for the dribble off the back. They're going for several rebounds off the back there. Talk about a triple rebound shot. That is, again, a Vicious coming out from them.
It was a 1v3 there. Condog had 3 people on them, and they still managed to get the ball in the goal. That was an incredible effort from Vicious. Condog playing a little bit of defense now as Repel have moved the ball towards the Vicious goal. Right back across over to the Repel goal. It is set by Sweet Tooth upshot, but they're tackled, and Matthew, look at the positioning there, gives Vicious a hat trick over Repel.
Yeah, looking really rough right now for the Repel players. Vicious is coming out swinging so hard from the gates here, and they are trying their best to really keep that almost a perfect game if possible here as they keep moving forward. Looks like they're sending for that deep clear there. I don't think the Repel player was there for the follow, but does go for the shot there. Does go off the backboard as they come in for a self pass off that. And the scoreline, I believe, is 4-0, 5-0, something like that.
0 now.
We're live.
5-0. Yeah, one more, and we will see a mercy in this first round between Repel and Vicious. Oh, and Matthew delivers it And there it is. That's the end of round number 1. As quickly as it began, Martini, it's over just a few minutes later. Don't worry, it's a best of 5 for a reason. So we will see in just a few seconds who is going to walk away in dominant fashion in round number 2. If I had to make a prediction, I would say Vicious.
Yeah, I mean, that was...
they were so dominant there.
Yeah, I mean, talk about unbelievable, right? A 6-0 Mercy in probably about, I think, half of the round time. I think each round is 5 minutes, right? So such a quick showcasing there from them. So much credit coming out there, I think, to the Vicious players. But you're right. I think it's going to be a little scary to see on the Repel side as they do get this upcoming round started pretty soon here against Vicious. Again, Vicious already won a round in the pocket. This is a best of 5 series, so they just need to win 2 more games and they'll be done and out early here, unless Repel has something to say about that, potentially coming out with their own rounds themselves.
It's just going to be hard for them, right? Because they, I mean, they got the ball, you know, they would get the ball and then it would just get tackled out of their hands. And I don't know, it's going to be rough. We'll see what the response is like from Repel as we get started in our next round, round number 2 between Vicious and Repel. And here we go. Dripsy official taking the ball first, passed right over to Condog. Good interception by Vicious, and across the field it goes over towards the Repel goal. Matthew has it. Dripsy goes for interception, but Sweet Tooth bumps the ball. And Condog with a behind-the-back shot.
They score.
Will give Vicious their first score in this second round.
Yeah, that is going to be rough again for the Repel players. Probably a little bit rough on the mental at this point. Looks like they're going to be going in for a potential passing option. Does go for a potential, I'd say, cell pass. Let's call it a cell pass there in the end, as it does go in deep. But Sweet Tooth there for the interception as they come in. They do have the defender on their back, and they do get tackled, but it's still very much in their possession as they try to struggle and keep it on the Repel side here. Vicious doing such a good job doing for the wall card, but it does fall just a little bit short of their hand as Megatron going in for the potential shot option here. This is probably the closest I think we've seen them get these shots, and unfortunately does get blocked by the goalie there, but still very much in play as Megatron trying to keep it in on the Vicious side, but they are going to be responding in tow pretty soon here.
Pass over to Matthew, pass to Condog, and a shot on goal by Condog. And there was nobody in there to defend from the incredible offense of Vicious. Megatron has the ball, brings it back over to the Vicious goal, but no matter which way you sliced it. Oh no, Matthew with a long shot, and that's gone right in. Galaxy was unable to get there in time, and already we're up to, is that 3 or 4?
3-0 right now for Vicious. And, you know, we talked so much, I think, before about the new setups with this 4v4 arena, how it's going to play out with long shots and kind of the normal gameplay stuff. But they say it's not as often to have long shots in this sort of gameplay, but I mean, when you have an open goal like that, they're going to keep taking those shots because, as we talked about earlier, Vicious has the experience. They're going to be able to make those sort of long shots here. It looks like Matthew already going in for the interception there. Knocks it out of the hand here. Can they go in for a potential other long shot here? But it does go just a little bit wide of the goal, but it doesn't matter as all of the players are there to come in and make that one work out for them here. It's looking really rough right now. One more goal, and we're talking about another Mercy already.
It's probably a very sobering experience for Repel to come off of a solid round 1 win, and then to face a team like Vicious, and for them to get almost get 2 Mercies in a row. It's definitely demoralizing, but it's all about how you play this. In Repel, they're not quitting yet. They want to stay in this game, but it's already Mercy 2 for Vicious.
Yeah, I mean, they tried their best to keep it out of the goal, but I think as we've seen there, it wasn't really up to them at that point. Vicious made their own decisions and unfortunately did go against what the Repel players did want here. But it's going to be challenging, right? These players play so well. We've seen them do so well, but this is the problem, I think, sometimes with the Swiss style. Like, you're played against, a variety of teams, right? So both teams won. So in the Swiss style tournament, it's going to say, hey, you both won. I can see y'all matching up. And we don't know fully how it's going to work out because we don't have an MR or anything like that yet for league matches. But a little rough, I think, to watch, for the Repel players. But hey, at this point, I think I would look at it as a learning experience, right? There's so much to learn in these sort of tournament styles. And again, 4v4 has only been out for about a week, maybe even 2 weeks at most, right? So this is all very new to every single person. And I think it's hard for teams like Repel, right? When Vicious, I've seen a lot of those players, they've been playing, I think, since closed early access, right? They've been playing this game in general for so long. So it's gonna be challenging for them in general. But I still think a great effort coming out from them.
Into round 3 we go. Reminder that if Vicious win this one, they're going to win the whole thing? There's nobody from... Oh, I wonder if maybe Repel have given up and left the server, because there's only Galaxy Meta on the team right now. Unfortunate, because, well, it's like Martini said, it can be a learning experience to play against one of the best teams, and you can watch back and see, where you went wrong and use that, really apply that to future tournaments that you might enter into. I mean, it can be frustrating, but there's always a bigger fish and somebody that you need to strive to overcome. But well, Martini, I think we know how this one is going to end. It is going to be...
You sure you don't want to watch this 1v4 game develop here? I mean, we could see the John Wick of Orion Drift ball come out here. And I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, it is. It is likely going to be a sweep from Vicious. So perhaps we'll cut over to intermission and see if we can find another competitive game that's going on right now that we can hop into midway. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Prepare to start.
Baron left alive. Where is Baron? In the spawn. Did somebody
Spud
in the bottom going absolutely crazy, getting the 2K.
Match point.
Yeah, somewhere between 2 and 4. some range. Gamers sending it down the middle over to the red side of the arena. There's LL Roaring River! Bounced off the ground. It's a goal.
Actually starts it. Oh, it's on! Goal! Action restart.
Great start for both teams, and you love to see a bounce back. We did just come off of a 6-6 win between Repel and Vicious, so it's nice to see some competition, some friendly competition between these two teams, and a score already from Longshot. That is a great way to build up a lead.
That'll help you keep those runners on their
Drift ball
toes.
resumes.
Or should I say off their toes?
Drift ball magic.
Yeah, don't count Longshot out by any means, because for every goal of that lock-in scores, there's Longshot there, quick to respond. Now we have Water GG, tried for possession, but they did lose control of it. There's Corpus sending it down the field, and it's in! Another goal for Longshot.
We're back on it. Oh, here we go.
Wow.
Goal! Oh my! We're live once more.
Yeah, absolutely. Lock in at a nice start, but I've quickly watched some momentum slide away from them, looking to get control over the ball once more, but Monkey will send it to center court, pass to their teammate Corpus, and Corpus is going to go for the shot on goal, pass over to Not Top, but they were just slightly out of position, and that's going to send the fate of the ball back up into the air, quite literally. Monkey goes for the shot. It's another one for the Longshot team. Lock in trouble. They lose this one, it's going to be a mercy. Into the hands of Water GG for lock-in, but no! It is stolen by Longshot Sped Key, sending it back to center court. Into the bunker we go. Gamer tried for it. Good tackles coming in, but it's not quite enough for lock-in. Longshot will still retain possession in a bit of a battle in the corner. It's back up into the air, passed over to center to the nest. Water stopped it up there, but Corpus will collect it, and it's a long shot. Oh! But it's blocked by lock-in.
It's in! Drift ball resumes.
Wow.
Drift ball magic.
Yeah, we've got one more in store for us. I think we're actually going to be on round 3 now. Let me see if I can find the data here. Yeah, so round 1 was a 6-0 game in favor of Longshot. And so we just had a 6-1? 6-2. 6-2 game, right, Martini? For round 2. So now we're going to go into round 3. If Longshot wins this one, it is going to be a series win for them, and they're going to remain undefeated in the Swiss tournament. We're currently waiting on the ball to just reset real quick from these two teams, but it's been a good match. I mean, I think Lock-In is very much in this game, Martini. You know, there's the potential for them to get a win, but they do have to do something about this long shot offense.
The ball is in play.
Wow.
Wow, that was amazing. We're back on it. Oh, here we go.
They play very, very deep, and what a power play from Longshot, right? They had 3 people in their goal. Everybody was blocking all of the shots that Lock-In attempted to place, and it just worked beautifully for them, and they were able to hand deliver the ball right over to the Lock-In goal. Not Top goes for another shot over to Spedkey, across into the center court, intercepted by Gamer 133, taking it over to the goal, but it's a bounce. Good blocking again from Longshot. They're putting 3 people into that goal to deny the ball, and it's working.
That's it. Drift ball resumes.
Yeah, they've done a stupendous job so far. Spedkey back up into the sky, passing it over to Monkey. Oh, and it's a rebound. Oh, but it's blocked again by Lock-In. Good defense. And if they have people in the goal, they stand a very decent chance of blocking the long shot shots. In any case, we see a scuffle in the corner right now. Gamer 133 has the ball, sends it back over towards the goal of Longshot, but Water GG claims it for Lock-In, and they're going to try reroute the ball, get it back over onto the Longshot side, but Gamer had a Longshot player on them, loses control, and now Spedkey has it, sending it over towards the goal. And Longshot's in the name, you know that they're going for that long shot, and that's exactly what they did.
Like, my mic has been muted the whole time, so that's unfortunate. As I am back in the action here. Thank you, Hertaj, for being in the chat, and I really much appreciate that there. But it looks like, if I've been talking on mute the whole time, I'm going to cry, Bob. I'm going to cry. But hey, who cares? You know, Longshot's been playing a great game out here. Lock-In struggling to get these upcoming goals here. Wow. We've been talking for like 2 rounds, so I'm just sad. Let's move on.
Fine, it's fine. We move on. Look at this. We've got Dr. Fibblewibble taking the ball down court over into the corner. They may have a shot on goal here. No, it's intercepted by Longshot, working its way back down the field. Who's going to be the first to get to it? Roaring River from Lock In, as we're slowly but surely running out of time for Lock In to get momentum. Pass to Water, but no, it's blocked again. And if you're Longshot here, really what you need to do is just play the timeout, hold the ball, but Spenke's going right for the goal, and it sinks in.
Yeah, long shot, taking these shots consistently, one after another here. Lock-In has been struggling to get this to work out for themselves in their favor. It does get intercepted in the end there by Monkey as they go in for the pass over right to Corpus there as they are moving up. Another beautiful pass over to Specky as they go for a reverse pass back to Monkey. And I think it's a beautiful connection of passes that are working very much in the favor of a long shot here as they are at this point I think fighting for possession against Lock-In, but Lock-In trying their best to keep the ball on the long shot goal side here, but Water is going to be getting a lot of tackles going on here.
Monkey intercepting, sending it back down middle court up into the halo we go. It's going to be a pass over to Corpus, but no, it's intercepted by Gamer 133, sent over to the other side of the arena. Time ticking down, ever so closer, not top. Has control of the ball, and there it is, down on the ground. And the winner of this series is going to be Longshot.
From Earth to the farthest reaches of Earth.
Talk about beautiful gameplay coming out there from the long shot players. And, you know, this was a little bit closer to a previous game that we had seen, right? I think Vicious playing such a strong game earlier in this cycle of games. And Longshot themselves, you know, putting out some really good gameplay themselves, too, at this point. So, shout out to the Longshot players and Lock-In and Vicious and Repel, right? I love seeing all the Orion Drift players come out here and still having a great time with all of us. But I will say some teams are really showcasing their skill here, and I'm curious to see what the later rounds of these games look like, right? As they get as the teams that keep winning keep funneling further and further up into these different brackets here, right? But it looks like we'll be going to a quick ad break here until we pick up another game, potentially an intermission. Again, sorry that I made Gibular Bob sound like a crazy man and schizophrenic for talking to nobody on stream for a good round or two, but that is how it's going to be. But we'll see y'all just in a second as we pick up the next upcoming set of games in this stream.
Prepare to start.
Baron left alive. Where is Baron? In the spawn. Can somebody
Go.
Spud in the bottom going absolutely crazy, getting the 2-8.
Match point.
Welcome back. Hopefully y'all are doing great. Unfortunately, we had a lot of technical difficulties come up, and we will be trying our best to fix them for the NA region. So unfortunately, this is going to be it for the stream and for the tournament today. So the next set of rounds and games we'll actually be playing tomorrow instead. So we'll be ending a little bit earlier today. We'll hopefully be spending a lot of time overnight getting everything set up and fixed for tomorrow. But hey, you know, it's only, we're going to be cooking, just having a better game and better tournament showcase it for tomorrow. And I believe more information will be coming out in the VRML Orion Drift server. So keep out an eye on the league announcements. And I believe the 4v4 announcements, one of those two, someone will definitely notify the NA region what's going to be going on for tomorrow. And things will be moved. It's unfortunate, you know, that it panned out this way, but hey, things happen, technical difficulties happen, and we all knew, right? This is 4v4, we're testing so many different things at once, so that's just how it is. So it's been a great stream. Unfortunately, we are going to be ending the tournament a little bit earlier, but hey, make sure to rest up, get your battery charged up. We'll be back into the action right in tomorrow, so it'll be totally fine. But Bob, any last words before we do head out?
I believe it's going to continue the same time tomorrow, starting at 6 EST. So make sure that you set your clocks for that, and we'll figure out the rest of the tournament for tomorrow. Again, apologies for all the technical issues, but hey, it's the Pioneer Cup. We've got 2 more tournaments planned, and by that point, all the kinks should be ironed out, and we'll be ready to deliver an even better show than we've done this weekend. So for now, that is going to do it for us over here at the Orion Drift VRML Pioneer Cup Day 1. My wonderful host, Martini, thank you so much for running the stream today. Myself, Gidealer Bob, we'll catch you all in the next cast. Have a fantastic rest of your night, everybody.
Orion Drift VRML is brought to you by Another Axiom, Helga, the esports manager. Thanks for watching VRML.